She was always enigmatic. In the books, Moiraine Domatard walks into the story cloaked in mystery and prophecy, a woman of ice and fire, wielding the one power with the certainty of someone who knows her place in the pattern. But in Amazon's The Wheel of Time, Moiraine is far more than the aloof sorceress or cryptic mentor. She is vulnerable. She is angry. She is undone. And for some fans, she is unrecognizable. The show has redefined her character, not just in behavior, but in structure. It has broken her down so it can rebuild her. But why? Why take one of the most iconic women in the series and bend her so far from her written form? The answer lies in adaptation, in pacing and theme, and most of all, in necessity. The books give us a Moiraine already ascended. When Moiraine first appears in the Eye of the World, she is fully formed. She is a woman with secrets, certainly, but not a woman in transition. She knows her mission. She understands her tools. She makes decisions without hesitation, even when they are terrible. Moiraine in the books is not there to grow. She is there to guide. Her development is subtle and long, often unfolding in the background. It takes multiple volumes before we learn the depth of her sacrifice, her fears, and the full scope of her beliefs. In Jordan's prose, she is a steady hand on a wheel that spins out of control. We only see her falter when Lanfear confronts her in the fires of heaven. And even then, it is a controlled fall, one born of choice, not weakness. The Moiraine we read is the Moiraine who has already become what she needs to be. Her arc is a lesson in constancy, not transformation. But television demands the opposite. Television demands immediate vulnerability. The screen is a different kind of mirror. It doesn't allow mystery to simmer over a dozen books. It needs emotion early. It needs change visible. That's why the show tears Moiraine down almost immediately. By the end of Season 1, her channeling is severed, her confidence fractured, her alliance is strained. It's a radical departure, but it's a calculated one. This Moiraine isn't a figure of control. She's a woman in crisis. That choice gives Rosamund Pike something complex to play, something that moves beyond exposition and quiet intensity. It invites viewers to connect with Moiraine not as a mythic guide, but as a human being, wounded, isolated, and increasingly desperate. It shifts her story from one of certainty to one of rediscovery, and in doing so, it transforms her from an oracle into a protagonist in her own right. The loss of the one power. When the show strips Moiraine of her ability to channel, it feels like betrayal. This is the woman who battled Forsaken, who defied the Amerlin seed, who shaped the path of the Dragon Reborn. How can she be reduced to whispers and letters and half measures? But that's the point. Removing the power doesn't just weaken her, it exposes her. For the first time in her adult life, Moiraine must navigate a world where her words alone must carry the weight of her will. And in doing so, the show reveals something the books only hint at. Moraine's true strength was never in her weaves. It was in her resolve, her intelligence, her capacity to endure. Season 2 and 3 force her into a liminal space between identity and function. Who is Moiraine when she can no longer be what she was trained to be? The answer, slow and painful, is that she is still dangerous, still brilliant, and perhaps, for the first time, truly free to become more than a weapon of prophecy. Moraine's emotional walls. In the books, Moiraine is emotionally distant to a fault. Her feelings are buried beneath layers of discipline, tower training, and personal sacrifice. Even her deepest relationships, like her quiet love for Tom or her bond with Lan, are only hinted at in brief, almost evasive lines. She's a woman who has learned that closeness leads to compromise, and she cannot afford that. The show dismantles this carefully. Instead of preserving her as a symbol of untouchable Aes Sedai grace, the series forces her into emotional confrontation. Her scenes with Lan are not just strained, they are raw. Her tension with Siuane is not veiled in political elegance, but explodes into painful, heartbreaking moments. This isn't weakness. This is the cost of humanizing a character who, on the page, had the luxury of detachment. The show makes her confront everything she's lost and everything she's hidden, and it turns her silence into struggle. In doing so, it turns viewers from observers into sympathizers. We don't just respect this Moiraine, we feel her. The Moiraine-Lan relationship. One of the boldest choices the show makes is reconfiguring the emotional balance between Moiraine and Lan. In the books, their bond is spiritual and professional, but their affection is quiet, buried beneath centuries of custom. Their mutual respect is implied, not explored. But on screen, this bond is cracked open. The show introduces rifts, disappointment, miscommunication, and even abandonment. It's a risk, especially for fans who cherish the unspoken loyalty they share in the books. But again, the goal isn't to rewrite the bond, it's to earn it. By taking it apart, the show can rebuild it, stronger and clearer. Lan's disillusionment gives him a chance to grow beyond her shadow. Moraine's isolation lets her see what she has taken for granted. Their eventual reunion, when it happens, becomes not just a return to form, it becomes evolution. A reminder that even the strongest ties must be reforged through fire. Her role in Rand's journey. In Jordan's version, Moiraine is Rand's early handler, a distant mentor who guides him with firm hands and veiled truths. Their relationship is built on obligation more than affection. But in the show, that dynamic is far more intimate. Moiraine doesn't just see Rand as a prophecy figure. She sees him as a person, and that's dangerous. Her fear for him is not abstract, it's visceral. That emotional investment colors every decision she makes and every lie she tells. When Rand breaks away from her, it isn't just a strategic split, it's a personal fracture. This closeness introduces new stakes. Her failure to protect him isn't just a risk to the world, it's a wound of her sense of self. And when she returns to his side, it won't just be as a guide, it will be as someone who finally sees him clearly, not as Lews Theron's ghost, but as the man the wheel has chosen anew. Siuane Sanche, love as the wound that defines her. Nowhere is Moraine's television transformation more potent than in her relationship with Siuane Sanche. In the books, their bond is political, ideological, and formed from youth spent in the White Tower. But it's not romantic, at least not explicitly. The show changes that, making their connection a deeply personal, romantic love story, stretched thin by decades of duty and silence. It gives Moiraine a vulnerability that book readers never saw, but that deepens her character immeasurably. Her refusal to share everything with Siuane, her calculated decisions to act alone, and her devastation at Siuane's betrayal are not just tactical missteps. They are emotional implosions. The show dares to ask what happens when the love between two of the most powerful women in the world can't survive the weight of the world they are trying to save. It's tragic, yes, but it is also illuminating. It shows us the price Moiraine pays to stand apart, and it explains why, when she walks alone, her back is so straight and her silence is so loud. From legend to woman, and back again. Perhaps the greatest shift in Moraine's adaptation is the show's willingness to take her off the pedestal, to remove the legend and show the woman. In the books, Moiraine is an icon, even in her absence. She leaves the narrative and becomes a ghostly force of legacy, her return in Knife of Dreams, a stunning reminder of how much power she held in restraint. But the show offers something else, transformation in real time. We see her unravel. We see her choose silence when she once chose command. We see her admit fear, admit longing, admit weakness. And then, slowly, we begin to see her reclaim what she was. Not in the same form, not with the same certainty, but with deeper humanity. With scars that speak. If she regains the power, it will not make her Moiraine again. It will make her more. A Moiraine who makes mistakes. In the books, Moiraine is nearly infallible in her early appearances. She always seems to be one step ahead, even when the world is unraveling around her. Mistakes are rare, and when they do occur, they are cloaked in necessity. But the show rejects that level of untouchability. The Moiraine we see on screen stumbles. She miscalculates. She misjudges. Her decisions lead to suffering, not just for herself, but for those she is trying to protect. She places trust in the wrong hands. She withholds truths that explode into chaos. And most of all, she acts with a kind of desperation that comes from no longer knowing if she is truly right. These mistakes don't weaken her. They illuminate her. A character who cannot fail cannot grow. A character who breaks the world a little while trying to save it becomes real. And in that realism, the show gives us something the books only circle around: The cost of bearing prophecy. Not the burden of being chosen, but the toll of believing you must always choose for others. Her absence is replaced with emotional continuity. After Moiraine disappears in the fires of heaven, readers spend book after book wondering about her fate. That narrative void allows Jordan to elevate her through memory. She becomes myth within the story itself, mentioned in reverence, remembered in grief, speculated about with longing. Her absence becomes her power. But television can't afford that same luxury. Viewers don't live in books for years. They live between episodes and seasons. Keeping Moiraine off-screen for multiple arcs would risk losing emotional momentum. So instead, the show builds that myth while keeping her visible. It shows her pain, her distance, her self-imposed exile from the people she once led. By watching her suffer in real time, viewers don't forget her. They invest more deeply in her. The myth is not lost. It is made more intimate, more personal. When she rises again, and she will, it won't feel like a return. It will feel like a resurrection we earned by watching her crawl out of the dark. Redefining the role of the mentor figure. Moiraine in the books is an archetypal mentor, shaped in the mold of Gandalf or Merlin. She is the one who knows, the one who guides, the one who disappears when the hero must walk alone. But the show resists that simplicity. It refuses to let her remain on the margins of Rand's story. Instead, it folds her into the core of the narrative transformation. She is not just the mentor. She is a mirror to Rand. Her powerlessness reflects his growing strength. Her fear mirrors his confusion. Her loneliness echoes his isolation. In this version of the story, the guide is not just there to lead. She is there to change with the hero. Moraine's journey becomes an emotional parallel to Rand's, not just a path that runs beside his. And in that storytelling choice, the show subtly shifts the genre itself, from mythic quest to deeply human drama. Her greatest power may be her belief. Even stripped of the power, even abandoned by the tower, even when alone and hunted, Moiraine never stops believing. In Rand, in the pattern, in the war still to come. This belief, so central to her character in the books, becomes more visible and more urgent in the show. In a world unraveling, belief becomes its own kind of magic. It's what allows her to stand in front of Lanfear without flinching. It's what drives her to make impossible decisions. It's what keeps her from collapsing under the weight of everything she has lost. The show leans into that, portraying her not just as a channeler of the one power, but as a channeler of will. She doesn't need weaves to hold the world together. She needs only her resolve. And in that, she becomes something even the Forsaken fear, a woman who has lost everything, and yet refuses to break. The final shape of Moiraine is still forming. Moraine's transformation on screen is not yet complete. That is the most important truth of her adaptation. Every episode chisels away at the Moiraine we thought we knew and reveals something deeper. She is still becoming, still learning how to lead without command, how to love without control, how to serve the pattern without being swallowed by it. When she does return to her full strength, if she does, it won't be the power that defines her. It will be everything she had to sacrifice, unlearn, and survive along the way. The Moiraine of the show is not diminished. She is sharpened. She is being reforged in silence, in solitude, and in pain. And when she rises again, she won't just be the Aes Sedai we remember. She will be the woman the last battle needs. The wheel weaves, and Moiraine unweaves herself. The decision to change Moraine's arc in the show isn't about disrespecting the books. It's about making her story work in a visual, time-bound medium. It's about letting her bleed so she can heal. Letting her fall so she can rise not just as a hero, but as a human being we know deeply. The essence of Moiraine is still there. Resolve, secrecy, sacrifice. But around that core, the show has built something new, something braver, something unfinished. And in that transformation, she becomes not smaller, but vaster. The Moiraine of the screen doesn't just hold the pattern together. She tears herself apart to make sure it keeps spinning.